I was once asked, what inspires you? Why did you choose theater and dance as your own expression? I laugh. I didn't have much to say in it. It chose me. But in some way it must go back to one's journey, back to the beginning. Maybe in the rhythm of the subway cars beating out time like some urban metronome, or the mosaic of sound, laughter, cries, music, my uncle's guitar playing, my mother's singing and dancing. Maybe that was the difference, but it certainly had little to do with my path. That was already set in motion. Looking outside my fire escape window was a masterclass in itself. I'd like to think it helped forge something cinematic in the way I see life, and eventually the stage. One's conversation, one's intent, body language, all the comedy and sometimes tragedy was portrayed right outside that window. It's like watching a bird in flight and not yet figuring out how it works its wings. To me, theater always had that parallel with Chinese philosophy, being water and adapting. You're poured into a cup, you become that cup. You're poured into a teapot, you become that teapot. Now water can flow, or water can crash. Definitely be water, but most importantly, become that vessel as a performer. Influences, enter stage left, the great Fred Astaire. I still think he was Mercury, disguised as a hoofer. I remember watching him on some little beat-up black and white TV in total shock. I wanted to be him. In fact, I ran out to the Goodwill that week and bought anything that remotely looked close to what he would wear. I think I got my butt whipped. So just when I think I have the alchemy of Mr. Fred Astaire figured out, enter stage right, Gene Kelly. Now this guy was a panther in loafers. I remember a teacher yelling at me, constantly, "Make love to the floor, Martine." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Watch a Gene Kelly movie and you'll get it." Most influential show was definitely West Side Story. It was the birth of the hybrid performer. You had to be a triple threat to survive it. I learned more about choreography from that single show than any other in my career. And looking back at it now, when I look at my mom's photo albums, it looks like the supporting cast is in there. It is a masterpiece. Amen, Jerry Robbins. I had the honor of working with the legendary John Kenley. Everyone from Bob Fosse, Gypsy Rose Lee, even Ann Miller worked in his season at one point. I did his shows, I ran his dance calls, even chauffeured him from his home to the theater. And the memory I have of Mr. Kenley was he treated you like a star. It didn't matter who the headliner was, he was just as loyal to you. Enter center stage, my hero, Jacques d'Amboise. He single-handedly changed the trajectory of my life. He walked into class, we became princes, kings, dragons. We can go anywhere with our imaginations. He's still changing lives. He changed mine, and I'll never forget that. I love you, Jacques. Thank you. A friend of mine asked me, if I missed 8 shows a week, do you miss the stage? You know, I never really left the stage. When you've done theater, television, opera, concert, dance, you just change another form, just to stay close to the stage. I guess it's like climbing Everest. You just find another mountain to climb, a broader canvas. I'd like to think it's who we are, what we're destined to become. Maybe a grander theater. You know, it's like looking at an ocean, a raindrop, or a conversation on a street corner. You never really see it the same way. In some way, it's a story that moves your own forward. A boy dreams of soaring above the bars of his own fire escape window, above the city, high above the rooftops, over the Hudson, through valleys, on to distant, distant shores, where the scenery is painted as brightly as the characters, and where new adventures await any willing heart. And he too can be a prince, a king, or even a dragon. The boy soared higher than he ever dreamed he could, only to land gently back home. If he can pass his crown, his sword, all of his costumes, even his cardboard scenery, to the next dreamer, then maybe, just maybe, that dreamer will do the same.